supernaturally protect them. So already one time he's protecting. He said, flee to the mountains, and he uses what I believe is believers to provide protection, and he protects. But now the earth, it says, the earth will protect them. How in the world will the earth protect them? What are some of the things you hear a lot about, especially during the time of the tribulation, that's going to be happening? Earthquakes. Is it possible that God would cause an earthquake to take place to save his people? Absolutely. It says the earth will help them. So God, I believe, will bring about an earthquake that will end Satan's assault against God's people, the Jews. Attack number 3. He doesn't give up. Now even more enraged. Can't you just imagine? I mean, it's hard for us to imagine, but can't you just imagine the rage of Satan? He's been kicked out of heaven. He's on earth. He goes after God's people. He's been prevented now a couple of times, and then his forces have been swallowed up perhaps even by an earthquake, but he's even more enraged now. So what does he do? Attack number 3, down to verse 16. The earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was so enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, those who keep the commandments, those who have the testimony of who? Jesus Christ. So, attack number 3, Satan becomes so frustrated that he will turn his attention to attacking all others who name the name of Christ. If you are a believer during this time, he's coming after the believers. All who name the name of Christ. Those who are saved during the time of the Great Tribulation. Those that are saved by the ministry of the 144,000 Jews. Do you think he desires to go after them? The 144,000 evangelists? For sure he does. And now he's going after all believers with a terrible, terrible rage. Now, in the chaos and the confusion and the unrest of the tribulation, and especially, I would say, after the rapture, which I believe, again, I'm a pre-trib rapture. You don't have to believe that, but I'm a pre-trib rapture. You might be a mid-trib rapture, whatever. But after the rapture, there's going to be great chaos, great confusion. The tribulation will be upon the world. All the things we've already begun to talk about in Revelation chapter 6 and forward. And the world's going to be looking for a leader. The world's looking for a leader now. The world's looking for a leader now, that somebody has some answers. It's all being set up for the Antichrist. My goodness, we ought to be urgent about how we're living our lives, about how we're trying to reach others or not. The world's longing for a leader. People will desperately hope for someone powerful and influential to come and unite the world. And they'll be looking for somebody that's strong. They're looking for somebody that's charismatic, somebody that can turn the world back from the brink of utter and complete destruction. Even now, you're hearing the talk. World War III. Even now, there's the whispers of a World War III. People looking for answers. A leader that will pull us back from the brink of utter and complete destructions. Now, here's the deal. In the Great Tribulation, their longings will be fulfilled. Their longings will be fulfilled for a time. The powerful leader will come. He will unify the world under his rule. He'll appear at first to be everything that they're looking for. will appear to be everything in the world they're looking for. He'll bring a brief time of peace, a brief time of prosperity. He's going to have some answers as far as the economy. He's going to bring nations together to stop the warring for a period of time. There'll be peace. But he will turn out to be the cruelest dictator the world has ever known. And there's been some bad dudes. There's been the Stalins. There's been the Khrushchevs. There's been the Hitlers. There's been the guy from the Sudan. There's been all these terrible dictators, the Castros. There have been all of these people, but none in comparison to him. He will be more vile. That word vile, something that I was studying Nahum. Nahum describes, God gives a description of the Assyrians as being vile. That means utterly and completely immoral and disgusting. This guy will be vile, the most vile, most disgusting being that's ever been. More powerful than all the other imposters up until this time. The description in Revelation 13 is the most gripping one in the Bible regarding the Antichrist. There are other passages. I'll give those to you. 1 John chapter 2 and verse 18 describes him. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 describes him. Our Sunday school class is going to be looking at that in a few weeks. Daniel chapter 7 through 11 talks about him, describes him. As I said, having been cast out permanently out of heaven, Satan will now lead his last, this is his last desperate attempt to overthrow God. And he will totally possess the Antichrist. There are 7 descriptions that we're going to look at regarding the Antichrist that I don't have time to start tonight. 7 descriptions that we're going to consider regarding the Antichrist. But look at verse 1. Just to get your appetite whet a little bit. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his head a blasphemous name. What is this first characteristic is his ancestry. His ancestry. Who is he? Oh, there's a lot of people trying to figure out who he is. I remember through the years, there've been different ones that have been described as being the Antichrist, because somehow or another they coded a number, somehow or another they come up with 666. I remember when I was growing up, and some of y'all may remember this, that people were saying Henry Kissinger was the Antichrist. Because somehow or another, some of you say, who is Henry Kissinger? But he somehow or another, his name, they figured out a code, 666, Henry Kissinger. Why? Because he was a diplomat, I guess. But one thing we know who he is, he's the son of Satan. One thing we know is he's part of the satanic trinity. You've got the devil himself. You've got the Antichrist, and you've got the false prophet, all a part of this devilish, demonic trinity. And so we will pick up next time and begin to think about his ancestry and go from there, looking at the description that the Bible gives us of the Antichrist. Okay? All right. So at this time we want to spend some time